Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to you all. First of honor, said Dr. Samjona, the President and Executive Dean of NIBS. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. I deem it a great honor to have been invited as a keynote speaker for the Future Ready Leadership Summit. Let me start by congratulating and thanking the organizers of this summit on the well thought through theme and the wonderful organization that has accompanied the event, culminating in the wonderful setup and assembly of sharp minds we see here today. Our guest speaker, I believe that the theme that has been assigned to be reimagining business leadership, building a future-ready organization, is very pertinent given the uncertainties that surround our way of life and business today. The past 3 years have presented some of the most challenges to businesses in well over a century. The back-to-back external shocks, starting with the COVID-19 pandemic, the war in Ukraine, and the recent one in Gaza, as well as domestic shocks, have shaken the very foundations of most businesses, to say the least. The supply chain disruptions, fueled inflation that ensued, particularly from the pandemic and the war in Ukraine, resulted in food and energy price hikes not seen since 2008. As if that was not enough, global monetary policy highs triggered an increase in the cost of borrowing, increasing the financial and running costs of several businesses and preventing many others from being able to borrow. The war in Gaza also presents a new layer of uncertainty, given the threat of it protracting and or escalating into a region-wide war. Crude oil prices have increased lately, with commodity supplies to Asia and certain parts of Europe having become constrained by the incessant Houthi rebels attacks on the commercial vessels plying in the Red Sea, which is a vital waterway for international trade. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a couple of weeks ago, the President of France, His Excellency Emmanuel Macron, indicated that the West retains the option of sending ground troops to Ukraine to avert a defeat to Russia. This is a clear indication that the war in Ukraine could metamorphose into a continental Europe or NATO war if steps are not taken to find a quick and amicable solution to it. In fact, we are looking at the possibility of two broad and protracted wars in Europe and the Middle East. This is a reality today. Why do I refer to these events? It goes to show how unpredictable the future can be. No one anticipated that any of these global events would happen at the time they did. Yet businesses had to contend with their fallouts. This explains why businesses will have to prepare themselves for future eventualities, be they expected or otherwise. And it goes without saying that leadership is at the center of it all. The uncertainties of the times. We live in a fast-paced world, one which is characterized by constant change on the back of dynamic factors such as the macroeconomic business conduct, consumer preferences, third-party operational risks, the environment, natural disasters, geopolitical factors, health issues, government policies and regulations, employee disposition, just to mention a few. Change also occurs with new ideas, technology and innovation, some of which unfortunately become obsolete just when they are being churned out. Innovations that we thought were transformational and could revolutionize our way of life and the conduct of business have been replaced by more efficient and robust ones over time. This is emblematic of a fast-paced environment and the constant quest for solutions to our everyday challenges. And as we know, innovation is born out of necessity. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, just as the world has evolved, so has the world of business spurred by the very same factors that make the world tick. Innovation has taken center stage in business, helping simplify hitherto complicated processes allowing for the rapid generation and sharing of ideas and forcing development of quick solutions to problems. To cope, many businesses have adopted fluid organizational structures, introducing a high degree of flexibility into their modus operandi in a bid to build resilience and responsiveness to the needs of their stakeholders. Furthermore, environment, social, and governance ESG issues have become front and center in our current dispensation and discourse. Thus, businesses that should remain relevant now and in the future concern themselves with how they can fulfill their mandate while maintaining environmental consciousness and social sensitivity and deploying the most efficient, effective, and sustainable governance framework possible. That said, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, businesses face a myriad of uncertainties, from taxation and regulatory uncertainties, geopolitical factors, supply chain disruptions, to disruptive technologies, just to mention a few. Then the future of business is as unpredictable as innovation itself. Businesses that survive are those that learn to position themselves ahead of the curve, or at worst, make a conscious effort to keep up with the trends, including ESG issues. That is how you build a future-ready organizations. Future readiness does not happen in a vacuum. It entails a conscious effort towards adapting to current trends while standing ready for anticipated and unanticipated future events. It must be stated, however, that preparedness for organizational future readiness cannot be delinked from the quality of leadership. In other words, it takes a transformational leader to drive an organization into a state of being future ready. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is what I hope to spell out during this address. What is future readiness all about? Future readiness entails two things. One, being able to anticipate future occurrences and preparing for them before they happen. Number two, building a flexibility and tenacity to quickly adapt and reinvent oneself when necessary, when unanticipated events occur in the future. As earlier stated, change is constant, and being prepared for change is a mark of endurance. Since change is constant, future readiness is not an event. It is a state of being constantly prepared for change. Future ready organizations are those that accept that change is a constant and develop a positive attitude towards change. Such organizations anticipate systematic changes or disruptions to the environment and prepare extensively for emerging challenges brought about by change by building resilience and agility that allows them to cope with them when they do occur. In effect, future-ready organizations develop fluid but steady options as coping mechanisms to anticipated and unanticipated changes to their operating environment and also within the organization itself. They adopt and utilize scenarios, planning for possible future events, and adapt their business strategies, operations, and processes to these possibilities. Because of their positive attitude towards change, future-ready organizations are open to learning, unlearning, and relearning, ready to adopt new technology, invest in internal innovation and ideas to deal with future challenges and prioritize speed and efficiency. In effect, they are well informed about current trends and future possibilities and stand ready to explore business growth prospects in other areas, whether existing in their portfolio or otherwise. Traits of a future-ready organizations. Some common characteristics define future-ready organizations. They are well prepared for challenges, as demonstrated by their sense of operational resiliency, the dynamism of the workforce, and the flexibility of their internal processes in response to change. Below are a few pointers for future-ready organizations. Number one, putting the customer first. A future-ready organization appreciates the fact that without the customer, the business cannot exist. Thus, they strive to become and remain customer-centric. Preferences of customers have evolved along with everything else, requiring businesses to move away from emphasizing product development and ascertaining what excites customers so as to channel those expectations into their offerings. There must be a holistic approach towards improving customer experience from the way the company interacts with them and how it addresses their sentiments to how the final product is delivered to them. The power customers will cannot be underestimated. Some businesses have been driven to the brink of collapse because of certain alliances and pronouncements they made, which they did not align with belief systems, perspectives, social preferences, and worldviews of their customers. Future-ready businesses make a conscious effort to create brand loyalty and make brand ambassadors out of their customers rather than put them off. Number two, I first mentioned the putting the customer first. These are the traits of future-ready organizations. The second point is recruiting and nurturing the right talent. Customer experience is developed and deployed by the employees of the organization. Talent, therefore, is the most valuable business asset. It is said that a business is as good as its people. Employees can make or break the business depending on how well they are engaged, whether they are the right fit for the roles they occupy, whether they feel valued, whether they are inspired to go beyond the minimum, whether they use business time for productive activities, and whether high achievers would want to remain in the business. It is not enough to attract the right talent. Future-ready organizations nurture such talent to attain professional heights that tend to benefit organizations eventually. They make employees feel valued. They also make them feel that they have their best interests at heart and take steps to demonstrate it to them. This includes allowing flexibility in work schedules and providing the requisite tools for them to function. The nature of talent keeps changing, and it's very important for businesses to take notice and meet their needs without compromising on quality. By this, they create employee loyalty. Let me share something with you concerning the Japanese style. The Japanese people have something called Kaizen. Kaizen is recruiting the right people, putting them in the right place, providing the necessary tools for them, and then also giving them competitive remuneration. One important thing businesses have overlooked over the period is the fact that giving competitive remuneration to customers, to workers, employees, is one of the serious strategic decisions. But most businesses ignore them. Today we are learning that giving competitive remuneration, designing a very good environment for the workers is part of your work as executives. And in so doing, you are building strong asset for the organization. Let's take note of that. The third point I want to make as trait of future-ready organization is proactively pursuing and utilizing technology. It is becoming increasingly difficult for businesses to function without technology these days. That is because of the enhanced interconnectivity and efficiency technology brings to businesses. Technology is enabler to business, but technology is not static. In that regard, businesses must keep up with new technological trends which enhance both efficiency and effectiveness of business, so as not to be left behind. Future-ready businesses are amenable to adopting not just any technology, but future-ready technology to enhance their operations, improve customer experience, and stay ahead of their competition. Artificial intelligence has come to stay. Future-ready organizations will explore ways of embedding AI into their operations to enhance productivity. However, it is important to bring talents along with every technology adoption, given that they will add its functionality. The organization should not make employees believe that they are in competition with technology. Technology may be the future of business, but people must be inserted into the functionality of technology. The fourth point of traits of future-ready organization is updating processes and procedures. Updating processes and procedures. Future-ready organizations do not hold on to processes and procedures for legacy or nostalgic reasons. Processes and procedures that slow the pace of work and hamper efficiency have no place in today's or tomorrow's business. It is important for businesses to digitalize processes and procedures if they are to stand a change of staying competitive. Future-ready organizations also renew organizational culture periodically in a bid to improve efficiency and outcomes. Practices, relationships, and laws that are inimical to sustainability are gotten rid of in the process and replaced with fit-for-purpose organizational cultures. It is not about how things have been done in the past or what the organization is known for, but about how prepared the organization is for the challenges and business conduct in the future. The professor made mention of the fact that if the thing that you were doing maybe 10 years ago, you still want to do the same thing, then there's a problem. Because don't expect that you do the same thing and expect a different result. It's not possible. And I've been saying that tradition is the worst enemy of civilization. The reason is simple, because it has no regard for future knowledge. And so it is important that as executives, we must always challenge the status quo. Very, very important. And as I present, as I finish my address, you see some of the things that we have done in my bank that have brought about innovation. And as a result, the changes are overwhelming. And some of you might have read about the upgrade by Moody's and Fitch ratings. In fact, somebody asked me, well, how did you make all these things? Because we took over the time when COVID was, at the order of the day. So how were you able to go through COVID and then come out successfully? This is as a result of leadership and innovation. The next point I want to raise is compliance with environment, social, and governance requirements. Compliance with environment, social, and governance requirement. ESG issues are the core of business because they border on business sustainability. Seeing the ESG is the future. It will be awkward for any organization to ignore costs to embed it into the operations and processes. ESG specific financing is available, and many financiers have tied resources to ESG compliance, an indication that organizations that do not comply will soon find themselves out of the financial market. ESG is another important issue. Recently, I had my first roundtable discussion, Greening Africa. And I think I made mention of the fact that if any organization ignores ESG requirements, then you are not in for business. You get out of business. Most of the financiers are now tying their resources to ESG. And it behoves all of us to pay attention to ESG issues for our organizations. Now, ESG compliance organizations are sensitive to the effects of their operations and those of their partners on the environment as a means of protecting the environment. They also pay attention to social issues such as gender and diversity, youth and women inclusion in business operations. They are also mindful of putting in place a fit-for-purpose governance structure to ensure checks and balances and fairness across the business spectrum. This is not only satisfies shareholders within the financial space, but also helps to reduce the risk of loan delinquency. The next point, and that is the last point, is minding data analysis and data protection. Minding data analysis and data protection. The future of business is data-driven, and it has actually started. It is about time that one is able to process and analyze data expeditiously for decision-making. Data analytics has become very huge in current dispensation of business. Future-ready organizations invest in data analytics to stay ahead of the curve. Another increasingly important bit is the data protection. Processing and analyzing data in the most secure manner is also critical for business to compete. Cloud computing has become front and center in data protection. Other businesses have invested heavily in disaster recovery sites to ensure business continuity should disaster strike at the business headquarters. Organizations must position themselves to be able to run no matter what disaster befalls them. This is how future-ready organizations behave. Now, leadership, the lever of future readiness. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, future-ready organizations are engineered. They are engineered by transformational leaders who deliberately review and repurpose every aspect of the organizational structure and processes to be ready for challenges now and in the future. The character of the leader is fundamental for organizational future readiness. There is a study They say the organizations are reflections of their chief executives. But I don't know whether you want to make any research into that. So if the CEO of the, in fact, the life, the values of the CEO will reflect in the organization, I'm telling you. If the CEO is a very slow person in taking decisions, it will affect the organization. But if it's a very person like Patapa like us, it also helps the organization. There are many decisions we can take today. Those who work with me know that I don't take 2 days to take decisions. Once I'm convinced of it, we go ahead. And businesses are full also of risk. So we should not be risk averse. We should be able to take decisions as chief executives. And I think that is if we want to move the organization forward. So the leader's vision, convictions, motivation, and direction influence the strategic direction of the organization. In effect, future-ready organizations are led by future-ready leaders. Leaders with a strong conviction that things will not always remain the same. Leaders who believe in the constancy of change and prepare themselves against ramification of change while capitalizing on the positives. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, where I work, which I lead, has had issues with diversifying its resource mobilization, growing its balance sheet, and checking costs. The bank's strategic plan for 2025 took note of these challenges and sought to address them. The first pillar of our strategy seeks to reposition the bank to deliver on its value proposition, while the second pillar seeks to promote resilient, inclusive, and sustainable growth and development. These objectives were carefully selected, given the peculiar challenges the bank was faced with and the fact that it was a COVID-era strategic plan. Let me announce to you that at the end of 2023, which was the halfway mark of the strategic plan, we have achieved most of the targets as follows. And these are facts. These are all there. These are facts. We are not exaggerating. New approvals in terms of loans totaling. I don't want to bother you with the UA. I don't know whether the UA is not the currency. It's a basket of currency. And as an international bank, we use UA. I will try to do the conversion to dollars. Now, as at the end of December 2023, that's last year's financial. In fact, we are going to have our AGM on the next week Thursday. Today is what is the America? Next week Thursday, we are having an AGM at Côte d'Ivoire. And these are the numbers that one can find from our financials. 1.3 billion, which is the realization rate of 108.4%. The plan is supposed to end in 2025, but as at 2023, we exceeded the target. Put your hands together for the bank. New commitments total 1.351 billion, which is 135.5 realization rate. Halfway. Disbursement to promoters, we had gotten to 709 million UA, which is 82.7% of the projected target for 2025. Resource mobilization, in fact, last year alone, we mobilized over $1 billion. I'm telling you. Disbursements, resource mobilization rate is about 80% of the projected target. Our loan book rose to 1.65 billion UA, which is 115.6% of the projection of 2025. The balance sheet grew by 134.9% from 900 to 1.3 billion UA. So the plan is going to end in 2025, but as at 2023, we have already achieved all the important elements or components of our plan. That is future-ready leadership. In fact, as we speak, we are preparing a proposal for the Board of Governors. The Board of Governors are the ministers for finance of all the 15 ECOWAS member countries. They are the highest decision-making body of our bank. We are preparing a proposal for them to revise some of the targets upwards because we have already exceeded. This was due to the urgency and the tact we attach to its implementation in a manner not seen throughout the history of the bank. Let me also mention visibility in terms of the bank. I'm sure some of you have never heard about ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, EBID. And this is a very strong and leading bank, owned by all the 15 ECOWAS member countries. With a balance sheet of about $4 billion, it's a big bank. Nonetheless, we are quiet. So I'm talking about visibility. The bank was not known within the region it operated, let alone beyond the region. This was because it had limited footprints across the sub-region. It was very reserved with its publicity. Visibility is a selling point for resource mobilization. We saw this as an opportunity to increase the stock of the bank. We heightened our presence on social media, going from 417 to 22,183 followers on LinkedIn, from 804 to 1.2 million followers on Facebook, from 507 followers on Twitter to 1.5 million people following us now. We also developed what we call West African Development Outlook. If you want the macroeconomic indicators of the countries, the 50 countries of West Africa, you don't need the World Economic Outlook of World Bank or of IMF. When we come to our bank, we have a strong research department, and they have all the macroeconomic indicators of all the 50 member countries because of what we call country strategies. We have to do country strategies to enable us to assess credibly loans or requests for loans that come to our bank, and that made us to reach out to all these countries. So we are starting called West Africa Development Outlook. I'm saying that from today, you don't need the World Economic Outlook of IMF concerning the sub-region. When we come to our bank, all the figures and all the information is available. So I invite you to visit our website and you read about West Africa Economic Outlook. It's an annual socio-economic publication that reports on the performance of all the 15 ECOWAS member countries. So as I speak now, if you ask me about Sierra Leone, I know what is happening in terms of their debt to GDP. I know their current accounts. I know everything about the country because of the strong research department. Prof, we may invite you to come and do some research for us very soon. Thank you very much. We launched a webinar series, the first of which focused on the offerings of the bank to a sub-regional audience, and commemorated the ECOWAS Week with a series of events, including a conference on the theme, the role of development finance institutions in promoting growth and development in West Africa. We also introduced the President Roundtable, the main edition of which was themed Greening West Africa. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in April 2024, the bank is hosting its first maiden ECOWAS Investment Forum. That is under the theme, Transforming ECOWAS Communities in a Challenging Environment. That is the theme. It's coming on the 4th and 5th April, and I want to use this platform to extend an invitation to all of you to come to Lomé, where the bank is headquartered. The EIF, that is the ECOWAS Investment Forum, will welcome Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, Director General of the World Trade Organization, as a keynote speaker, as well as captains of the industry and subject matter experts to discuss pertinent developmental issues that affect the sub-region. Per these actions and many others, the bank has positioned itself as a knowledge institution and become visible in the process. Partners who did not know about the bank or were skeptical have learned up to offer lines of credit to us now. In effect, it was not about visibility for the sake of it, but as a means to an end. You know something? As I said, formerly some of the lenders didn't want to look at us. Now a number of them, KLW has given us line of credit, BHF has given us credit, African Development Bank, Afrexim Bank, Badia Bank, Saudi Exim Bank. Everybody is calling us, say come for money. So now we have to choose where we should go for the money. That is what is happening now, and I'm not joking. I'm not exaggerating. Because of the credibility, because of the numbers, because of what we have done over the period. Improving operational and financial performance and improving resource mobilization. The bank had a high cost to income ratio and limited resources to work with. Profitability was low, but by dint of hard work and the effective team, we had achieved 5-year targets for loans and advances and balance sheet in 2.5 years of implementing the strategy 2025, and had almost doubled the loan book and balance sheet in the process from the end 2020 position. Quite a number of financial and prudential ratios have improved, even though a lot more work remains to be done. Despite the challenging economic environment, our non-performing loans rate has been 4%. That is remarkable. In the industry for DFIs, such as ours, the standard it should go to about 7%. We are at 4%. That is not performing asset. Asset rating, which is the lowest for the bank in recent years. Return on equity is at 1.33%. Our total asset grew to 1.38 billion UA from 1.1 billion for the previous year, and we made a net profit of 5.35 million UA. This sale can be said of resource mobilization. An amount, as I said, the 1 billion was mobilized and received in 2023, bringing the total mobilized to over 3 billion US dollars. The four major shareholders are Nigeria, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, and Senegal, have all finished paying their second tranche of the called capital obligations. While Ghana did so in 2018, the others liquidated their capital obligations between 2021 and 2023, having noticed the value of the bank was bringing to their citizens. The board of governors, as I said earlier, the highest decision body of the bank, even increased the authorized capital of the bank from 1.5 billion to 3.5 billion in October 2022. In recognition of this increase in enhancing its operation and facilitating the march towards investment grade rating, we are hoping that in the next 2 years we should be getting to investment rating by Moody's and Fitch ratings. Furthermore, the bank launched the ESG financing framework with a positive assessment from ISS ESG solution. The bank is in the market for green financing with 100 million euro facility in the offing. The launch of the ESG financing framework was in recognition of the direction for future financing, which is predominantly green. We focus on improving the financials and mobilizing outstanding capital because it enabled the bank to function more efficiently while serving as an indicator to partners that the bank was able to repay its debt. So far, this has worked perfectly well, improving credit rating. The result of the past 4 years have contributed to the bank's credit rating being revised from B2 negative outlook to B2 positive outlook by both Moody's and Fitch. Improving the credit rating of the bank is necessary for it to source relatively competitive financing so it can also offer facilities at reasonable cost to its clients. The bank has not recorded any non-performing loan since 2020 in our portfolio, a testament to the robust credit process and governance structures we have put in place since we assumed office. My director of finance is here. I'm not just exaggerating. Prof, a bank who had a non-performing asset ratio of about 16% was too much. We don't, from 2020 up to today, we have never recorded any non-performing annual asset or loan in our portfolio. As a result, our NPL. In fact, I have chased borrowers and I've collected not less than 50 million US dollars from them. These were borrowers who were in default. My director of finance is here. We have collected not less than 50 million US dollars from non-performing loans, and the NPL ratio is now at 4%. That is remarkable. This is not just for the present, it is for the future. Strengthening our governance structure, strengthening governance structures. In addition to strengthening the credit committee of the bank, we have also, so let me announce that it's not easy to come for a loan now and get rid of it. No. So, Chairman, you cannot just get loan from us and then get rid of it. The structures, you have 3 levels of credit process before it gets to the board. And before I even send to the board, I make sure that I'm so satisfied. The risk profile has been strengthened. And so you can get rid of it. And that is the reason. For 4 years, the bank, 4 years, we have disbursed over 1 billion, maybe 1.5 or 2 billion. And we have never had a non-performing facility in our portfolio. In addition to strengthening the credit of the bank, we have also established governance committee of the bank for the first time. That is ethics and governance under the board of directors to handle all the issues related to governance to ensure that the bank is in line with international best practices. This gives an upward pressure on our rating while giving confidence to our partners that we are committed to doing the right thing. Trust is a must for a future organization. Bro, there's a research you did, the article they published, that's trust matter. Am I right? And we are saying that trust is a must for a future ready organization. Recruiting and maintaining highly qualified staff, I've already mentioned that. Procuring and utilizing the state of the art, I've mentioned that. So I would like to conclude, ladies and gentlemen, that the result of the bank in recent past only point to one thing. We have had transformational and ready future leadership at the head. For a bank which will be 50 years in 2025, Almost half of the current balance sheet size was added in less than 4 years. Yes, this has been achieved through an aggressive disability drive, intense resource mobilization effort, improved credit process, cost efficiency, operational efficiency, and staff innovation, among others. We have gone down this road because we had a strong conviction that things needed to be done differently. We believe that it was possible to expand in the midst of difficulties. There was the need to bring everyone along, build resilience, and look to the future with positivity. This is not just for years, and now it is also for the future. I would like to conclude by saying that for future leaders, credibility is key. Let's take note of that. This morning, I had a discussion with my brother, Dr. Nanasaki, and I told him that for future leaders, credibility is key. And I want to throw this to all the chief executives here. Credibility. I think that we need to be content with what we have. If we want to grab everything, we won't be a good leader. I'm telling you, because we will not be satisfied. But when you have decided to sacrifice your life, that I'm here to make a change for the future, you make it. It is my prayer this morning that as we gather here under the innovation of our professor, all of us will learn something from today's seminar or summit and go out there and make a change. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. These are very, very powerful questions. So let me start from the last speaker, talking about the kind of customers that we have at the bank. Let me take this opportunity to let's just know about the ECOWAS Bank. Please, it's not EcoBank. Take note of that. We have EcoBank Transnational Incorporated. That's the parent company that owns all the EcoBank affiliates in the world. EcoBank is in about 35 countries now. The parent company is in Togo, and we're also in Togo. So if you're not careful, you may think that, but it will be interesting to note that our bank, that is your bank, ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, is only owned by the 15 ECOWAS member countries. So you talk of Burkina Faso, Benin, Cabo Verde, Cote d'Ivoire, the Gambia, Ghana, Guinea-Conakry, Guinea-Bissau, Mali, Niger, Liberia. You talk of Niger, you talk of Senegal, you talk of Nigeria, you talk of Togo. These are the 15 ECOWAS member countries. So take note of that, please. And the ECOWAS Bank is a founding father of UTI. Interestingly, I don't know whether you are aware. We are the founding father of the EcoBank Transnational. So as we speak now, I sit on the board. We have a stake in UTI. Just by the way. Now, the kind of customers that we deal with. We grant loans to governments, countries, number one. We have two windows. Private sector and the public sector. For the public sector, we grant loans to governments and government agencies in all the 15 member countries. So, for example, we have loans in Nigeria, in Ghana, all the countries, we have given them loans in the area of energy, infrastructure, roads. Let me give you one example of our projects in Ghana here. I don't know, those of you who know Akachi-Aflao Road, Akachi. If you know Akachi-Aflao Road, we finance that road from Akachi to Aflao border. It's a typical example of our project. And then also, we extended electricity to villages and towns in the Shanti project. Among other things, Bakwa Hospital, there's a new Bakwa Hospital. We constructed it. So these are the things we do for the private. Now, in terms of private sector, we give loans to private enterprises and then companies and that are also within the ECOWAS member state, SMIs and MC. Now, one innovation that I want to put across is that before I took over, as I said, we had high non-performing loan, non-performing ratio in our books. The reason is that, or the reason was that some of these promoters were not paying. So instead of giving monies directly to the promoters, for example, if Nanasaki has a business in Ghana, he wants money from us. One thing I did was to stop giving money directly to Nanasaki. What we called direct financing. I did what we call indirect financing. By talking about indirect financing, I will ask Nanasaki to bring his bankers, commercial bankers, to me. So if, for example, he's operating with commercial bank, Ghana GCB Bank. I want you, please, I want your bankers to be here. There are two reasons for that. We'll look at your credit worthiness. Is this man credible? Number one. Number two, are you ready to take the facility and on-lend to him? So we pass all the risk to the commercial banks now. And so in our portfolio, about 85% of our commitments are all through banks. It's an innovation. Am I right? Because of the nature of our scope. If somebody from Burkina Faso, maybe a businessman from Burkina Faso comes to take a facility from me, and he uses his properties as mortgage, enforcing the mortgage itself becomes a problem. You all know the legal systems. The legal systems not only in Ghana but in all the 15 member countries. I can tell you, because we operate in 15 countries, the legal systems are not the best enough. I'm telling you, are not the best enough. So when even you go to court for 10 years, even after winning the case, enforcement becomes a problem. So I said, I don't want any court problem. What I mean is that you are taking my money, pay me back. And so what I did was that I will go to sir, I'm coming, sir. I'll go to sir, you ask the question. So one thing that has reduced our non-performing asset is the fact that we have changed our model. Instead of direct financing, we do what we call indirect financing. So that is the first question. The second question is about the fact that good leaders, when they leave office, there is a vacuum. And that means that as a leader, before you leave, you must mentor somebody. Mentoring and modeling, very, very important. And so if you're a leader and after you have left, there's a vacuum, then you are not a successful leader. A successful leader is somebody who is succeeded by another successful leader. And as we speak now, I've identified people are mentioned at the bank. So I believe that they have the same values, they have the same belief system. So what we have even left is to be there. The last issue is the first. To be honest with you, in marketing, both the employee and the customer are all customers. In fact, the employee is an internal customer. So you have to treat all of them well. Very important. I think I've answered the question. Both the employee and the customer are all yes. Thank you very much.
I'm sure that we've had a very insightful session. Please let's hear it for them once again.
If you understand this concept or this statement, leadership becomes very easy for you. You are supposed to serve the needs of others, the interests of others, not to satisfy your personal aggrandizement. So when organizations are choosing leaders, it is very, very important not only to use technical people, but people who have been tested over the period in terms of credibility. So today, a lot of people have mentioned the issue of credibility, which is key. So for me, fundamentally, leaders must be credible in order to be able to lead properly. And we're talking about future, ready leadership. All the theories that we have mentioned this morning, all the issues that we have mentioned this morning, for me, they border on credibility. Even if the leader is technically not too sound, his credibility can still make him succeed. I can tell you. If he's technically sound and it's not credible, the organization will crumble. So I just want to emphasize the importance of leadership in all spheres of human endeavor. In the family, we need leadership. In the church, we need leadership. In the corporate life, we need leadership. And even in the nation, we need leadership. So when I took over in 2020, I met COVID, as you are all aware. Later on, Ukraine war also came in. And recently, we know of Gaza. So I said, if you keep on doing the same thing, then you shouldn't expect a better result. And it's something that we must all learn today. If you keep on doing the same thing, then don't expect a different result. So quickly, I changed the business model. Remember, we're a bank. And at the end of the day, the bottom line, the profitability is what actually informs the public about your performance. Now, immediately I took over, I had to change the business model. And I said it this morning. We had high non-performing ratios in our portfolio. In other words, some of the borrowers who took money from us were not paying. So what did I do to be able to actually resolve this problem? Immediately I changed the model by stopping lending directly to all these promoters, and then started on lending to the financial institution for them to on lend to these promoters. our catchment areas are 15 countries. We operate in 15 countries. And you know that it's very difficult for us to be able to actually have serious supervision in all the 15 countries where we have done projects. So quickly what I did was that I should rather work with the commercial banks in all these 15 countries for them to on-lend to the various promoters in their catchment areas or on their various countries. And by so doing, we put all the risk on the commercial banks. And I can tell you with all certainty that no commercial bank has defaulted as we speak today. And then they will now on-lend to the to the promoters in their various countries, and it becomes easy for them to follow up and get their monies back. And so that is the first thing I did, changing the business model. Number two, I also strengthened governance. Governance is very key. For you to succeed as a leader, you must take governance issues very seriously. What am I saying that? I'm saying that because we have to strengthen all the governance structures of the bank, and especially with credit committee. I had to really reinforce the credit committee by strengthening the risk department, bringing on board new talents to make sure that they carefully assess and write the good. They carefully assess and then the projects, and then come out with their recommendation for the decision of the president with myself. Again, I also strengthened the operational team to make sure that we have new talents who write good credit papers. Remember that right from origination, if a project will go bad, right from origination, you should be able to take this seriously. So from the origination, they took care of this process and make sure that they presented only good projects to us for the board to approve. And so I changed, I transformed the operational department, I transformed the risk department, and as I said, I also strengthened the governance structure of the bank. And for that reason, I think that the non-performing loans have drastically gone down. As you heard today, we are at about 4% as at the end of 2023, which is very, 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 very remarkable. For a DFI, Development Finance Institution sector ours, the threshold is around 7 and 8%, but we are at 4%, which means that we have done incredibly, remarkably well. Well, I think that for commercial banks that are going through challenges or crises, I think what they have to do is to take their credit process very well. Because you are a bank, you are lending, you are borrowing and you are lending. And so if the bank will go down, it means that you are not getting the monies that you are giving out back. And that's the only thing you have to do, is to strengthen your credit process. Get the right people there. They should have knowledge of what they are doing. They must be credible, number two. And above all, they must also make sure that they go through processes and procedure. You should not circumvent process and procedures. For example, if this is the way you have to go through in order to get a project approved, don't circumvent it. Make sure that you go through the process. And that's what I talk about, governance. Make sure the right things are done. And I believe that when the right things are done, definitely you'll be able to achieve your goal. And I also said this morning about credibility. Leaders must be credible. And I think that if you look at all the speakers, if you listen to all the speakers today, you realize that everybody's talking about credibility. Credibility is very, very key. If the leader is credible, it solves about 50% of all the challenges. Credibility means that you make sure that right things are done in the organization. You don't bend any rule. You don't bend anything. Your interest is subordinated to that, to the interest of the organization in which you are leading. If you place the interest of the organization first, I think that you succeed.